about you, but I love it when the Lord does that. I needed that today. If nobody else did, I sure did. And I have been asking. That's been one of my prayers this week. So you just saw an answered prayer right before your eyes. I hope you know that. Just real briefly, we are not having children's church this morning. We have several teachers out. So just to eliminate confusion, we're just going to keep children in here. So parents just want to keep you mindful of that. But the children's church is available if you need to take it for any reason. But I'm just excited for what the Lord is doing in our church today. I'll be honest with you. This week has been a difficult week. It's been a week. We've had some great victories. We've had some awesome time in the Lord with our children's crusade and everything in between. But can I tell you that when God starts showing up, so does the devil.
Come on. Yeah.
When God starts showing up, it kind of draws the attention of of hell, because Satan wants to destroy what God wants to bless. And man, I did post something this week on Facebook, and I hope you saw it. If not, I'm going to repeat it. If you want to know what God's about to bless in your life, just look where the enemy's attacking. And I can tell you God's about to bless this church because he's attacking every one of us. In more ways than one, he's trying to sow discord. He's trying to sow bitterness. We started our Wednesday night on the bait of Satan, the spirit of offense. And how be if not every one of us in that Wednesday night have not had an opportunity to be offended. And if he's not tried to catch us in a root of bitterness somewhere. But let me just say this before I move on into my sermon. Don't you dare let the devil win. Don't you dare let the devil win. And don't you dare get so, I said earlier, don't get so earthly minded that you lose your focus, because the Bible says we are not ignorant of his devices. We're not ignorant of the schemes of Satan. You keep your spiritual eyes open. You keep praying and watching, because Jesus is coming back and we win. We win. In Jesus' name. In Jesus' name. That's not my sermon this morning, but I could stay there fine, but I got to move on. If you got your Bible, I want you to go to Genesis chapter 40. And we're going to continue into our Destiny's Calling sermon series. This is our 4th week. And I just want to take a general consensus real quick. How many have been getting something out of this? Anybody? Now don't just put on airs today, okay? Are we really getting something today? Don't spare my feelings, because I want to preach something that is applicable to your life today. And I know that this has caused me to reassess my life. This sermon series is taking me out of my comfort zone. It's taking me into a new area. It's taking me into a new vein of preaching and a new vein of preparation. And if nobody else has enjoyed it, I have, because it has opened up a lot for me. And it has just really gotten me closer to the Lord as I've been praying about things in my life. But this week is our 4th week of Destiny's Calling. And for those that have not been here, and you wonder what in the world is this ladder for, you'll find out in just a moment. The whole purpose of this series, and I've said it every week and I'll continue to say it, is everyone in this room, if you are alive and breathing, you were born with a purpose. God allowed you to live because he has a plan for your life. It doesn't matter what situation you've come out of, whether it's a situation of rape, whether it's a situation of incest, whether it's a situation of adoption. It doesn't matter what your background or how you came into this world. God let you live when you were born because he has a destiny and a plan and a purpose for you to fulfill on this earth. He does not make mistakes. There's no such thing as accidents with God allowing people to live. There's a plan for every man, every woman, every boy, and every girl in this sanctuary. He has a purpose, an ultimate plan for you to fulfill. But in that plan, there are things you have to be mindful of. Reaching our destiny is a lot like climbing a ladder. There are rules and there are regulations. There are things we have to be mindful of if we're going to reach our destiny and fulfill the plan God has on our lives successfully and safely. We're going to try to move forward in all the recap, because there's a lot to recap in 3 weeks. But the first week, we talked about how to know your ladder, how to get acquainted with your ladder, and the guidelines you have to follow. The first one was you've got to choose the right ladder. You cannot reach your destiny by climbing your own ladder or by climbing somebody else's ladder. You have to be on the right path, the God path, if you will, to fulfill the plan he has for your life. The second thing is you've got to make sure you're on a firm foundation. A ladder is no use to you. It's no good if it's on uneven, unstable ground. Everything we do has to be built on God's will and God's word. If it's not built on the word, if it's not built on the foundation of Jesus Christ, then you're going to fall. The third thing is you have to consider the weight limit. You cannot climb a ladder with excess weight on you. Otherwise, the ladder becomes unstable and it will tilt. You cannot reach your destiny by trying to take up a bunch of baggage with you. You cannot continue to hang on to the past. You cannot continue to try to hang on to offenses. You cannot hang on to unforgiveness and bitterness and all these other things and load yourself down and expect the ladder to handle your weight. God designed your ladder to handle your weight and your weight only. Fourth thing is we have to climb with care. We cannot become complacent in our walk with the Lord. We cannot become lukewarm. We have to consistently pursue Him and His will for our lives, because it says that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. We cannot become so comfortable that we become complacent. Then the second week we talked about that there are situations that are going to arise in your destiny. Destiny will produce opposition. There's going to be people that don't like you, that are going to criticize you only because you have a plan. You are following God's plan for your life. Just because you're a Christian, you are going to be hated. And you are going to have to rise above their criticism. The other thing we learned in the second week is there will be setbacks in your life, but destiny is large enough that it overlooks the setbacks. Doesn't matter your past, doesn't matter what you've done, it overlooks all of the setbacks that the enemy and that the world will put in your place as you pursue your destiny. And the third thing we learned is destiny does not dismiss preparation. We're going to talk more about that today. And then last week, which is our third week, we talked about how to climb this ladder in order to start reaching and moving forward in God's plan. You have to be totally surrendered. It's not about you. God's will is not about what you want, what you desire, what you prefer. It's about what He wants. You have to be totally surrendered. And the other thing you have to do is you have to have total faith. Yes, you're going to go through trials. Yes, you're going to go through tribulations. Yes, you're going to face things. But you have to have faith that God knows what He's doing. And keep going even when you don't feel like it. Today, we're going to continue on this. And we're going to continue to talk about the life of Joseph, but we're specifically going to talk about how your destiny has a timing. We're going to focus on the timing of your destiny. Before I get started, I want to read this verse because it really fits. Psalm 18:30. As for God, His way is perfect. The word of the Lord is proven. He is a shield to all who trust Him. His way is perfect. I want to ask you, what kind of time limit do you have set on your destiny? What kind of time frame have you put on your destiny where it starts and where it needs to be fulfilled? See, we as humanity, me especially, we're all about time frames. We are all about things being produced and things being fulfilled on a certain time schedule. And usually that time schedule is a very rushed time schedule. Can I get a witness? Yeah. We live in an extremely rushed, hurried society. If you don't believe it, go to the end of Shofter Street and sit at that red light, and at that stop sign. And if you sit at that stop sign longer than 2 seconds, you're probably going to get honked at and somebody's going to give you the Hawaiian peace sign. That's the one finger salute, in case you're wondering what it is. I'm not going to do it for you. But sit at that stop sign longer than 2 seconds, and it's very likely you're going to get honked at and told you're everything but a white woman because you didn't go fast enough for them. Go through the drive-thru, and if a drive-thru attendant takes longer than the 3 to 4 minutes to get the order out, he or she is told that they want to talk to the manager and they need to work faster because they don't have time to wait. They're in a hurry. If you don't believe we're in a rush society, just look at the credit card debt in our nation. We can't wait to save up for something, so 25% of our income in the United States goes to paying off credit card debt because we can't wait to get it. You don't believe that we live in a rush society, just go and look at Walmart. We don't want to wait in the grocery store line, so now we have grocery pickup and self-checkout so we don't have to wait. Look at our GPS. Our GPS gives us all alternate routes so that we can make our destination in the quickest way possible. It's so, our society is such a hurried society that even amusement parks are taking advantage of our mindset that they give you the option to buy a fast pass. Anybody been to a music park and used a fast pass? You get them at Six Flags and you get them at Disney World, and Disney World actually had to change their policy because originally their policy said that if you had somebody who was handicapped or somebody who had a disability, then you could use that as a reason to jump the line. Well, there were some individuals who would hire these little old women to get in a scooter, and they would just get them in front of the line all the time. And so they figured them out how to change their policy. But it's no surprise that we live in a rushed society. Everything we do is hurried. Taylor tells me all the time that I'm so rushed that my theme song should be, I'm in a hurry to get things done. Oh, I'm rushing till life's no fun. All I gotta really do is live and die, and I'm in a hurry and don't know why. That was bad. Thank you. I appreciate it. But Taylor tells me all the time, she said, that should be your theme song. In reality, that should be our societal theme song because that's our life. We're in a hurry, we're rushed, and we want things done on this time schedule, at this time. And it's become such an ingrained mindset that whether we want to realize it or not, we have started to treat God the same way. We put God on a time frame and put him on a time limit, and we go and bring a need before him and we pray. And here's what's funny is a lot of us pray and we'll tell him, all right, God, I need you to have this done by next Wednesday at 12 o'clock. Like we're his boss. Like we get to determine how well he works. We go and we pray about something and then we say, well, I've laid it at the altar. But then when it don't happen as quickly as we want it to, we go and start trying to help him so that it can occur according to our time schedule. Anybody ever tried to help God? Yeah, how'd that work out for you? Yeah. Let's be honest, it's not always the most wise decision to go and to help God. And we get so frustrated with him when we want it done on our time schedule, when we want it, and we put it on this time frame, and then we get so impatient that we start acting like the spoiled brat child in the grocery store who wants the bag of M&Ms, and Mama said no, but he pitches a fit and whines and cries until Mama finally says, fine, get the M&Ms. We start treating God that way, thinking that it's going to force him to give us our way. But can I tell you, your impatience does not intimidate God. Your attitude, your pride, your whining, you can pitch a fit all you want to, but he's not going to bow to your needs. He's not going to bow to what you want. Your impatience does not intimidate him. He's got all the time in the world. He created time. He's outside of time. 1,000 days is as one day, and 1,000 years is as one day, and one day is as 1,000 years with him. He's got time. Mm-hmm. Just because you don't, it doesn't intimidate you. Your impatience doesn't intimidate God. We try to put God on our time clock, but here's the reality. God does not operate on our rushed system. He does not operate according to our mindset. Actually, God's way of operating is totally opposite from ours. Ours is impatience. It's hurried. It's quick. Whereas God's is patience, waiting, and endurance. And we hate those words. I hate when somebody tells me, be patient. I don't want to be patient. I'm like that kid who his mama kept baking cookies, and she said, you need to go in there and pray for patience. And the kid goes and says, God, I need patience and I need it now. I mean, I'm that way. And we're all that way, and we are especially that way when it comes to needing an answered prayer from God. We get impatient, but God, I wrote this down this morning, and I kind of chuckled when I wrote it. God is not a microwave God. He's a crock pot God. What do you mean? Well, a microwave usually something's done within a minute and a half or less, but a crock pot usually takes several hours. See, God, it's different from I've said this before, there's a big difference between a microwave pot roast and a crock pot roast. Okay? The one in the crock pot usually tastes better, actually always tastes better, than one you stick in a microwave. Because it has had time to do what it's supposed to do. See, that's the way God operates. God operates on the system of if it's worth having, it's worth waiting for. He operates on the time schedule of if it's important, then you need time for it to be fulfilled. See, when God does things, he does it right. He makes sure that when he works, there are no loose ends. There's nothing out of place. See, God operates where there's nothing amiss, and he works at a pace that ensures that all things truly work together for the good. Because when you rush, you miss details. But when you take your time, no details are left out. God is a God of detail. He works at his own pace. While you have a destiny, there is a certain time frame in which it is to be fulfilled. God has a purpose and has a time frame where everything will be set in order and will perfectly fit together to fulfill his plan. You cannot hurry God's plan. If you try to, it will end in disaster. You know, I've been using this ladder as an illustration because it really describes a lot of our pursuit of God's plan for our lives. Because if you were to get on this ladder and you were to try, and I tried it yesterday, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't lying, and I got scared, so I didn't try it again. But if you try to climb this ladder at a hurried pace, you'll either miss a step, or you'll cause the ladder to become imbalanced, and you'll cause things to not work out the right way, and that ladder is going to fall, or you're going to, one, and you're going to end up injured. While you have to take your time and watch your step climbing this ladder in order to get where you need to successfully and safely, the same is true for climbing your destiny's ladder. You cannot climb up it in a hurried fashion and expect to reach it safely and securely. You cannot rush God's plan and get ahead of him and expect all things to work out and for you not to be injured. Am I making sense? You can try all you want to rush God's plan and try to find the quickest way possible. But here's the thing. It's going to happen according to his time, even if you try to make it otherwise. God is going to work at his pace, not yours. You can look for all the shorter routes, but here's the thing. There are no shortcuts to your destiny. There are no roundabout ways to get to God's plan for your life. It's his way or no way. You can try to rush it, you can try to find the quickest way, but you're going to end up in frustration and disaster. But if you'll trust him and trust his time, you'll get there a lot safer and a lot more successfully. That's what I want to talk about today. And I just want to tell you ahead of time, God really prepared me for this message this week. There's sometimes I have preached things where God just gave it to me and I really didn't have much experience with it. But this week's sermon, I have some experience in it. And I know I'm not a mature Christian as some of you are. I've not lived long enough, but I'm telling you, this is from the heart today. I know God has given me this. The past 3 weeks we've been talking about Joseph. Talked about how God gave him a dream when he was 17, and because of that, his brothers already hated him, but the dreams caused them to hate him even more. And just to be sure that this dream never come to pass and they never bowed down to him, they got rid of him. They sold him into slavery. And from that moment on, there was a continuous cycle of hardship, of trials and tribulations that Joseph had to go through. He was bombarded with lies, he was attacked, and all these things happened. But even in the midst of all this, we discovered that Joseph remained a godly and upstanding guy. We learned that he remained faithful to God. We've seen that he never wavered in his faith. He never turned his back on God. He never quit. Now, a lot of us don't understand that because we have yet to mature to the place where we ourselves can do that. A lot of us don't understand how can he go through all these things? How can he go through all this hurt and still stay faithful and still serve God? It's because Joseph had some things that we need to take hold of. Last week we talked about he had total faith. Faith is the only thing that's going to get you through what you're going through and to get you where you need to go. Faith is going to get you to your end result if you'll just keep trusting the Lord. He had faith. He could endure all these things, but the other thing was he never lost focus of his dream. He never forgot what God had told him. He never removed from his mind what he had been promised. See, here's the thing. He knew he had a destiny from God, Misty. He knew, Nana, that God had spoken to his heart and that God had given him something. And here's the thing. He knew enough, Sister Tina. He knew that God had given it to him. And not only that, but that God always fulfills what he promises. He knew that even in the midst of the problems, the dreams were from God. And if God had promised it to him, that God was faithful and he would always fulfill what he had said. I want to stop here and tell you, I don't know what God has promised you. I don't know what he has told you. But here's what I know. If God has said it, then that's all you need. If God has promised you, then you need to quit worrying, quit getting frustrated, quit questioning his motives, quit questioning the way he does things, and just believe that he is a man of his word. Numbers 23:19 says, God is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should repent. Has he said it, and will he not do it? Has he not promised it, and will he not perform it? 2 Corinthians 1:20, for all of God's promises are yes in Christ, and to us the amen. If God has said it, then that settles it. If God has said it, that's all you need. Joseph was able to continue because he had faith. He had faith in the dream. He had faith in what God had promised. And he never turned his back because he knew God would always fulfill his word. Hold on to that today. I don't know what your destiny is. I don't know what you feel like the top of your ladder looks like. It may be an answered prayer. It may be a position at a church. It may be just doing something else outside. But whatever it is, don't let go because God is still working. Joseph continued on. And he continued to press forward because he had a word from God. He knew that God had given him a dream. He knew that this in his spirit was not created by him, but it came from above. He knew what he had been given, and nothing and nobody could persuade him otherwise. Not even his brothers or his father, whom he respected, could convince him that this dream would not come true because he knew, catch this, he knew what God had put in his heart. He didn't give up because he knew. See, here's what I've learned. If we know something, we don't doubt it. If we know something is a fact, Sister Teresa, we don't ever question it. I could go up to a pregnant woman who's obviously pregnant and try my best to argue with her that because I can't see that baby, because she hadn't seen it yet, that she's not pregnant. I can argue with her all day long, but here's what she knows. She knows there's something inside of her because she's felt it kicking. She knows there's something inside of her because she's watched it grow. She knows there's something inside of her, and no matter what I try to argue with her, that she knows that in due time, what's inside of her shall be birthed. You can come to me and argue all day long that fire is not hot. But I've experienced it. I've been burnt before. And I know no matter what your opinion is, I know fire is hot. See, here's the thing. You can argue your opinion, but you cannot argue my experience. You can argue with me all day long that because of my situation, that because of what the doctor says, that because of all the things going on in my life, that my promise will never be fulfilled, that I'll never reach my destiny. You can argue it all day long, but I've come by to tell you, you've come too late to try to persuade me otherwise, because I know what he can do. I've seen him work before. I know he is able. I know that he is able to provide all of my needs. He's delivered me before. He's answered a prayer before. And no matter what your opinion is, I know that he shall perform what he has promised. You can't cannot argue my experience. You can give me your opinion and your facts all day long, but you cannot argue what I know. Joseph knew. He knew in his heart, Sister Myrtle, what God had said, and it didn't matter what everybody else spoke into him because he knew God had the final word. Some of you need to realize God has the final word. The doctor doesn't have it. The CDC doesn't have it. White House doesn't have it. There's nobody, even your spouse doesn't have it. Your friends don't have it. Those naysaying Christians don't have it. God has the final word according to your need. And he does not lie. Joseph knew what God had given him. And so he kept moving forward. In the pursuit of our destiny, we've got to know God. Not know about him. That's the problem a lot of us sitting in pews have, is we know about God. We know his titles. We know who he is. We believe in him, but we have yet to experience him. We know about him all day long because we've been in church, but we don't know him. Because here's what I have experienced. When you truly know God, then you can endure despite the opposition. When you truly know God, you can keep moving even when everybody else says you can give up. Yes. When you know God, there is no persuading you otherwise of what he has said because you've experienced him and you know in your heart, no matter what it looks like on the outside, my God has said it and my God is faithful. Yes. To pursue our destiny, we've got to know God. And know he's a man of his word. He keeps his promises. Joseph knew in his heart what God had given him. He knew what God had spoken to him, and therefore he could not be persuaded. So up his ladder he went. Even though at the bottom it seemed like he couldn't make the first rung, he kept going, even after he was sold into slavery. Even after he got put in Potiphar's house. Even after he was lied on and put in prison. In spite of all of it, he just kept pursuing and climbing the ladder because he knew God. Amen. He knew what God's word had promised him and what he had said. He had it in his heart. So up his ladder, he kept going. Last week we talked about Joseph being betrayed by Potiphar's wife. About her lying on him, and that got him put into prison. And we talked about how even after that, Joseph didn't fight. He had faith and he kept going. And we pick up with that in Genesis chapter 40, verse 1 through 7. I want to read it. And it came to pass after these things, he was in prison, that the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was angry with his two officers, and the chief butler, the chief baker. So he put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard in the prison, the place where Joseph was confined. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them. Get that? He served them. He served them. So they were in custody for a while. Then the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison, had a dream, both of them. Each man's dream in one night, and each man's dream with its own interpretation. Now pay attention to this part. And Joseph came to them in the morning, and looked at them and saw that they were sad. So he asked Pharaoh's officers who were with him in the custody of his lord's house, saying, why do you look so sadly? Now I have to stop right there, and I had to write this down because it spoke out, it just really stuck out to me. Notice Joseph's attitude in prison. He's serving other prisoners. He himself is a prisoner. Now I understand he's been made second in charge, but still, he's serving other people. Notice that Joseph, even though he's in solitary confinement, that he's not wallowing, he's not whining, he's not pitching a fit, but he's serving other people. Not only is he serving them, but he's concerned with them. He's showing compassion. How do you know that? Because he went to the chief butler and the baker and said, why are you so sad today? Now that's crazy. I have never known about the prisoner. question to me, but it shows Joseph's compassion for the people. It shows that he cared for others even though he himself was struggling. See, I know he wasn't so focused on himself, Brother Eddie, because instead of going to them and saying, well, you don't know nothing about misery, I can tell you something about misery. You want to talk about being sad? I can tell you about being... He didn't do what some of us would do. You ever seen those people? You may be one of those people, and if you are, God bless your heart. Those people, when you ask them how they're doing, and they'll really tell you how they're doing. And then when you tell them your problems, they try to one-up you. Their ailments aren't as bad as your ailments. Their hurt's not as bad as your hurt's not as bad as their hurt. You know, everything they have is worse than what you have. Okay? Joseph didn't pull that card. But instead he said, why do you look so sad? And he started ministering to him, man. What's your point, Brother Drake? We have to be careful that we do not become so inward focused that we're no heavenly or earthly good. See, when you're pursuing your destiny, it's real easy to become self-consumed. It's real easy to neglect and ignore other people in need because it's hard to help somebody else in need when all you can focus on is your own. Yeah. I can tell you from experience, while I have done it and I have been guilty of doing this too, it's hard sometimes to pray for other people when you've got a need of your own. It's hard sometimes to really focus and minister to other people when all you can focus on, and it's good to be focused in your pursuit, but don't become so tunnel visioned that you miss the opportunity to minister to other people. Because while you're in a pursuit, they are too. Even if they're not saved, your whole purpose is to fulfill God's plan, and part of God's plan is to see the unsaved saved. So don't get so caught up in your own needs, in your own desires, in your own success that you miss the opportunity to minister and help somebody else. See, Joseph wasn't so self-consumed that he missed the opportunity to minister and help these guys out. Now, they come to him and he says, tell me the dream. Verse 7 says, now tell me the dream, for God is the interpreter of dreams. And now, he had an opportunity at that moment, once again, to make a point to God. Anybody ever try to make a point to the Lord? I have. You try, somebody comes to you and they say, and in Joseph's example, he could have said, well, you know what, I've had 2 dreams too, and look where I'm at. Y'all awfully quiet. He had an opportunity to say, well, that's great that you had a dream, but you know what? Look, I had 2 of them, and I'm in prison. It's easy sometimes when we're in the midst of a need to try and not get so frustrated and so flustered that we don't try to make a point to God and we miss the opportunity to minister to other people. But then here we see Joseph, he points them back to God. He points them back to the interpreter of dreams. It shows that he had no lapse in his faith and his trust in God. Picking up with verse 9 through 23. Then the chief butler, it's going to be a lot of scripture, but that's okay. Then the chief butler told his dream to Joseph and said to him, behold, in my dream a vine was before me. And in the vine there were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, it blossomed, shot forth, and its clusters brought forth ripe grapes. Then Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said to him, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Now within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your place, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand according to the former manner when you were his butler. But remember me. Say that with me. But remember me when it is well with you, and please show kindness to me. Make mention of me to Pharaoh, and get me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away from the land of the Hebrews, and also I have done nothing here that they should put me into the dungeon. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, I also was in my dream, and there were 3 white baskets on my head. In the uppermost basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, and the birds ate them out of the basket on my head. So Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift your head off of you and hang you on a tree. Man, that was a wonderful interpretation. Imagine being a baker. Bless his heart. Y'all can laugh. It's okay. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift your head off from you and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat your flesh from you. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast for all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. Then he restored the chief butler to his butlership again. And he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand, but he hanged the chief baker as Joseph had interpreted it to them. And here it is. Yet the chief butler did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. Now, I don't know about you, but I would have been a little frustrated. I've been a little irritated at this thought. Because in your time of need, I come to you and I try to lift your spirits. I give you an interpretation that makes you happy. And I ask you to remember me. But then you're going to go and get your prayer answered, get your blessing. But when you get your blessing, you totally forget me. I would be really frustrated if I was Joseph, because since he was sold into slavery, really, when it's even prior to that, it seems like he just keeps getting looked over. Anybody else see that? Seems like he just keeps getting looked over, forgotten about. And here's an opportunity for him to hopefully get out of this prison, because this joker, he's close to the head honcho. He can get me out of here. But then the butler goes and gets his and totally forgets about Joseph. Yet again, Joseph's overlooked, forgotten about. Ever had that happen to you? Ever been or felt forgotten about? Overlooked? How about when you've been at your job 17 years and there's a promotion that comes open and you are more qualified than anybody to get it, yet the guy you trained gets it over you? Or how about you've been friends with somebody for so long and y'all grown close, and then they go and do something, and then you think you're close enough, but then they forget to include you? Hello? Family members forget about your birthday when you've never forgotten theirs. How about this? This will really hit home for me. Have you ever felt overlooked by God? You prayed and you believed for something, and you feel like you've done all you can do. And Sister So-and-so comes in, and you don't know what she's been through, but still it feels like she prayed 1 week and she got her answer. And you've been fasting, you've been praying, you've been believing for months, for years, and you just keep getting looked over, or you feel like it. I know that personally. I know. Can I be transparent with you this morning in this moment? There have been times, just in the past week, that I've knelt before God and said, God, I don't understand. I don't get it. And I don't know how y'all talk to the Lord, but I'm very honest with you. I said, God, we serve you. We tithe. We do our best to make sure that we fulfill our calling. And we're doing our best to live right. And we've been praying for 2 years. Lost 2 babies. And yet I've got cousins. We've got cousins and friends who are out there living like the devil. Breaking up marriages. Friends who we know don't live according to the book, and they're popping out babies like rabbits. God, explain that to me. I have felt overlooked before. Honestly, when we got the results we did the other day, while we're grateful it's not another miscarriage, I felt overlooked. Can I be honest this morning? Told you it's from the heart. I felt overlooked. I cried the next day. I knelt in my bed, and I don't know how long I prayed. But I said, God, I don't understand. Why am I stuck here? What have I done? And I tried to figure it out, Susan. What more can I do? I tried rushing and get to my point. Joseph, while he didn't have a lapse in his trust in God, we see here where he took the opportunity to see that if man would hopefully elevate him to where he wanted to go. But yet when he trusted man in one moment, he saw yet again another frustration. What are you saying, Drake? you will not get to your destiny on man's time. You will not have what you need fulfilled according to man's will. It will only happen when God says it is time. Quit relying on man. Quit relying on your resources. Quit relying on yourself, because it's going to happen when he says that it will happen. Joseph had to learn a lesson. Well, I don't believe that he lacked faith in this moment. I do believe he caught himself in a moment of trying to find his way out by means of man's escape. And God showed him it's not by power nor by might, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. You can work all things that you want to, but it's going to be when I, the Lord, say. See, Joseph had to learn yet again another important lesson. And this is the whole purpose of the sermon today. This is where God has been dealing with me. If you want to reach your destiny, you got to learn to wait. If you want to reach God's plan for your life, you've got to learn to wait. Now let's just go ahead and let's just address the elephant in the room. Waiting is hard. Of all the things in our Christian walk, I don't believe anything is more hard than waiting. At least for me. Now more so than ever, like I said, in our rushed society, waiting is hard. It's a difficult task. It's taxing on the body. It wears out your spirit. Hello, somebody. It tires you out. And let's be honest, I probably shouldn't say this. It just downright stinks. Hello? It just stinks. You get frustrated. And honestly, there are times when you're waiting that you want to look up at God like Elijah and just says, just kill me. Take me out. I'm tired of waiting. But here's what I've learned. While we have a prayer we're waiting on, and it's going to happen. One day y'all are going to say, dear God, here comes that pastor with them bajillion children. This whole row, I'm waiting for it. She's thinking, oh God, please don't prophesy this. I'm waiting on the day this whole row is filled with little Dorsets, and they're just sitting down, shut up. Anyway, I'm waiting. It's going to happen, whether you believe with me or not. I know. He's going to give me double for my trouble. He will. While we are waiting for a prayer, we're waiting on our destiny, if you will. So I want to reapply it. I have waited on other things before that have come to pass in my walk in destiny. And I've learned that while while waiting is not fun to go through, it has some benefits. Waiting has a lot of attributes in our life that we don't notice if we don't have the right mind. First thing is, and I'm going to go through these quickly because I'm aware it's 12:23. I'm going to try to get you out of here in 15 minutes. First of all is waiting humbles you. Waiting will humble you. Yes. When an issue comes up, and I've talked about it before, all my control freaks in here, we know. We start putting plans in motion. All right, we got to get this. So I need to do step one. I need to get to B. I need to do this. And if I call this, and we start connecting all these dots, and we start doing everything we can to make it come to pass, only to find out that our efforts are in vain. Only to find out what we thought was helping us was really just frustrating us and wearing us out. See, one thing I have learned, waiting on something will cause you to dethrone yourself. Waiting on something will cause you to realize you're not in charge. It will cause you to realize that I may not really know what's best for my life. I really may not understand this whole walk of faith. And it makes you take a step back and realize I don't have it all together. Because one thing I've learned while waiting is waiting will cause you to come face to face with your weaknesses and your insecurities. It'll cause you to realize that you are powerless to control anything. Because while you try to quicken it and make it come faster and come faster, you realize time is not in your hands. Am I talking to anybody?
Yes.
It will humble you. It will make you realize that you do not hold it all together. It will make you realize that by your efforts, by your power, by your might, it will all fall. But when you trust in the Lord, when you depend on Him, and when you say, not my will, but thy will be done, not by my power, nor by my might, but by your Spirit, Lord, when you get to that place, that's when all things start working together.
Yeah.
Waiting will humble you. Waiting, and this sounds kind of strange, but waiting will strengthen you. We often view waiting as the opposite. We think waiting is just there to wear us out, wear us down, and get us to a place where we just have to give up and give it to God. Now that is part of it. That's part of that humbling process. But here's what I've learned. Waiting will cause you to realize that your strength is insufficient. Because you're going to try to take on these trials and these tribulations and these problems in your own strength and in your own ability, only to find out that it's just going to end in frustration and disappointment. And it's just going to keep wearing you down, wearing you out, and you're going to find that you have no strength to endure. I read an illustration yesterday, and I thought this fits so well. It said that eagles, which are one of the most majestic birds, eagles have the ability to fly during storms. Now, don't mistake what I said. I did not say they have the ability to fly through storms. But eagles, because of the way they fly, they have the ability to fly over storms. Well, how is that so? What they do is, and I'm going to try my best to remember it verbatim, they will wait for a certain gust of wind, Misty, and they'll spread their wings, and they let go. They don't fly, they let the wind carry them. And the wind takes them above the storm. Oh, I feel God. The wind escalates them and takes them where they can fly above the storm. They don't get delivered out of it. They still have to go through it, if you will, but they rise above it because they don't do it in their own efforts. They don't do it in their own strength, but they rely on the wind to take them above. See, when you learn how to surrender, and you learn how to say, God, I'm not going to do it my own way. I'm not going to try and fix this myself. And you just surrender. And you let the wind carry you, which is symbolic of the Holy Ghost. It will take you and it will rise you to a place where you're above the storm. Because the Bible tells me in Isaiah 40 and 31, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings like eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not faint. When we wait on God, He will restore our strength and let us rise above all the hindrances to our destiny. Waiting provides unlimited spiritual strength. When you wait upon God, He'll give you the ability to jump over every obstacle and every hindrance that the enemy tries to put in your way. It will strengthen you. The third thing is waiting will free you. First thing it will free you from is it frees you from responsibility. Not responsibility to work, but responsibility to control. Let me say it that way. Waiting frees you from control. You realize the longer you wait, you're not in charge of this operation. He is. You realize that the longer you wait, that if this is God's will, then it's got to be God's will, and He's going to have to fulfill it on His terms because I can't do it. cause you to free yourself and say, God, you have your way. But the other thing I've learned, Misty, I'm sorry I keep pointing you out, you're just right here. Susan, I'll call you and I'll ask you, I'll find somebody else to pick on. I don't know. It'll not only free you from control, but it'll free you from anything, any impurity, attitudes.
Yes, come on.
What I've learned about waiting is waiting has a spotlight effect about it. Because, Sister Lacey, the longer I have waited, the more I wait, the more I have to depend on God. And the more I depend on Him, the closer I get to Him. But here's what I've learned. Sister Kina, the closer I get to Him, the more He starts revealing things about me.
Yes.
The more I start seeing things that either I ignored or were totally ignorant of. Times of waiting will cause things that you cannot see in times of abundance to become the hot potato, if you will, in your hands. In times of abundance, you can't see it, but in times of waiting, you'll start seeing things about yourself that you didn't realize were there.
Yes.
You'll start realizing that you're maybe not as patient as what you claim to be. You start realizing that maybe you need to grow a little bit in your faith because you have a tendency to give up too quickly. Maybe you've learned you need to get your anger under control. Uh-oh. Maybe you've learned that you have some unforgiveness, some bitterness, some jealousy, some envy, a habit, a sin, something in your life that in times of blessing you ignore it and you don't really think on, but the time of waiting, because see, here's what I've learned about waiting. Waiting applies pressure. Waiting will apply pressure to your life. And if you want to know who somebody really is, watch how they react under pressure. Because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. Your mouth will always reveal the condition of your heart.
Yes.
Waiting is a season of trials. 1 Peter, I can't remember what verse it is, talks about the fiery trial of your faith. It's testing you, basically. The whole purpose of a trial, and I've used this analogy before, is to pierce something. It would be to take a vessel and pierce it to see what's on the inside of it. That's what waiting does. Waiting will pressurize you, and it will put you in a position where it's going to reveal some things that are on the inside of you. It's going to show you who you really are. And God's going to reveal these things to show you, you've got to get this under control before I can elevate you. You've got to get this under the blood. You've got to get this root of bitterness out. You've got to get this habit gone. You've got to deal with this, because if not, you'll never be able to handle where I'm taking you. Waiting will free you. It will reveal those things so that it can, let's use the old-timey word, sanctify you. That refiner's fire that removes the impurities to make you as pure as gold.
Yes.
The last thing it'll do is waiting blesses. I'm sorry. Fifth thing, there's two more things. Fifth thing it'll do, waiting prepares you. Joseph waited 13 years. From the time he dreamed to the time he became prime minister of Egypt. 13 years he had to wait. Trial after trial, tribulation after tribulation, setback after setback, opposition after opposition. 13 years. I just feel like he would just get 2 steps forward, not 10 steps back. Consistent. But the whole purpose of it was to prepare him for where he was going. I said this a couple of weeks ago, but I'm going to repeat it because we always want to skip over that preparation process. Because waiting is part of the preparation. Joseph could not be prime minister at 17 years old. He was not mature enough. He was not ready. He didn't know the information he knew at 17 years old. God knew if he put a 17-year-old in position before his time, then either he would get corrupted or he would miss the time frame to save all the people he did because of the famine. The waiting time is preparation time to get you to where you need to be. Waiting is going to teach you. It's going to develop you for the man and woman of God that you are called to be. Am I making sense? Let me say it this way. I'm not going to do this, but I'm going to use myself as an example. If I was going to go run a 5K on Wednesday, I cannot wake up Wednesday morning and say, I'm going to run a 5K. Because if I do, the only way I'm going to cross that finish line is in an ambulance. That's the only way it's going to happen. To run a 5K, I should have been preparing last year. Or even 2 years. Because the body has to be conditioned. The same is true for your destiny. God's will is only going to be fulfilled in your life when He's conditioned you spiritually enough for you to handle where He's taking you. Come on, somebody. He's teaching you. He's developing you in the waiting time. He's revealing things in you, teaching you about yourself. But in that time of waiting, you're learning things that you would have otherwise not learned. If Joseph had not been sold into slavery, he may have never learned how to handle the wheat and the grain. If he had not been put in Potiphar's house, he would have never known the order of a royal household. If he had not gone to prison, he would have never known how the judicial system in Egypt worked. Imagine having a prime minister that has no idea how the government operates. God put him through every situation so he could prepare Joseph for the position that he was taking him to. God is making you wait not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because what He has, I know, I posted it this week, this present suffering is not worthy to be compared to the glory to yet be revealed in us. There's an eternal weight of glory we cannot yet comprehend, but it's coming, but we have to be prepared to receive it. Yeah. And the last thing it teaches us is waiting will bless us. The Bible tells us that those who wait upon the Lord will not be ashamed. What is that saying? That says no matter how long you're waiting on your prayer, no matter how long you're waiting on your plan, no matter how long you're waiting for God's will to be fulfilled, you will not walk away empty-handed. You will receive, I said it again, you will receive what He has promised. Those that wait on Him will be blessed. Those that wait upon the Lord shall receive what He has promised. Those that wait upon the Lord will, while they may be made fun of and they may be mocked in the process, when they get to the top, all the other people that made fun of them are going to have to bow at their feet and depend on them to supply their need. That tells me those people that have told you it'll never happen, they're going to be the ones who are going to have to come back to you when the prayer gets answered and say, pray for me. Yeah. That tells me all those people who cast doubt, who cast fear, who did all these things on your destiny, on your promise, you're not going to be ashamed, so they're going to have to come back to you and say, I was wrong. Waiting will bless you. It will bless you in the midst of the trials and outside of the trials. Because in the midst of the trials, Joseph was in prison, and it still said he was a successful man. How can somebody be successful when they're in prison? It's because he waited on the Lord and walked according to His will. Even in the midst of the trial, God can give you what you need. Waiting will bless you. Waiting is not something we want to go through. But waiting is something that we have to endure if we're ever going to be the man or the woman of God that He's called us to be. Misty, I'm almost done whenever you're ready. Joseph had to wait. He had to go through the waiting process. He had to go, I've heard it said this way, he had to go into God's waiting room because his appointment was for another time. Yeah. God had to do some things in and through Joseph before his destiny was fulfilled. He had to get his heart ready. See, here's what I've learned. We don't want to wait. But waiting is what makes us pleasing to God. If we had it our way, we'd have what we wanted. We'd be where we wanted now. But God's not going to take you somewhere where your integrity and your character cannot keep you. He's going to take you where you need to go only after you have been refined and you have come to the appointed time that He has set. If you want to reach your destiny, then you're going to have to learn to wait. Now, let me clarify just real quick before I close. Waiting does not mean it's not a passive action. When it says that we waited on the Lord in the scriptures, it was an active verb. Not spiritually, but physically. What does that mean? You keep working even in spite of the opposition. That means, as Galatians says, you keep sowing that seed. You keep planting it. Even when the enemy tries to come and take it up, you keep defending that vineyard. You don't just sit there and do nothing. You actively wait. Because a farmer only reaps the harvest when he actively sows the seed, waters the seed, weeds, whatever you call it, and does the work. Then the harvest comes. If he were just to plant the seed and go sit down, the seed would die. And it would produce no fruit. My farmers, am I telling it right? You plant it and you don't do nothing to it, it'll die and rot and you'll never get a harvest. But because he takes care of the seed, he takes care of his crop, then it produces. When you wait, you've got to learn to take care of the dream. You've got to learn to take care of that promise. It may not come to pass yet, but you keep watering it with that prayer. You keep watering it with that word. You keep speaking faith over it. You keep holding on to the promise, because it says in James that as the farmer waits, that eventually the former and latter rains come and he receives a harvest. Galatians says, be not weary in well-doing, for in due season you shall reap if you faint not. If you want to get what God's got for you, if you want to reach the destiny, the plan for Him, for your life, you've got to learn to wait on Him. You've got to learn to work in spite of the opposition. You've got to learn to endure despite all of the setbacks in your life. You've got to keep moving forward. But you got to trust His plan. I know that it's difficult and it seems intimidating to start climbing the ladder of God's destiny. Because it seems that there's all these requirements. But here's the thing that you need to realize. All He requires of you is for you to just climb according to His will. If you'll just follow His word, follow what He has said, let Him have His way, surrender, let Him direct your paths, you'll reach your destination. Don't get impatient. Don't try to hurry things along. Because if you do, you're going to find yourself in a troublesome situation. Don't try to reach out and try to start reaching for something because you might fall. Let me just say this. If it's out of reach, then it's not for you. God will take you where you need to go according to His time, according to His will, and according to His purpose. Wait on the Lord. Philippians 4, 6, and 7. I'm going to say this and we're going to close. Be anxious for nothing, but by everything with prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, make your need made known unto God, and then the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, shall guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus our Lord. Don't worry about your future. He's got it. Don't worry about your situation. He's got it. Don't worry about how it's going to come to pass and how everything's going to fit together. He never called you to be in control or to understand. He called you to trust and walk by faith. Bow your head this morning. I just want to, real quick, Brother David, you go ahead and shut the video off.